So, welcome ladies and gentlemen. This is Madals, and today I'm casting a best of one game from the ladder, a TVZ. Spawning down in the bottom right hand position of Outzerim. The red Terran player, it's a Barcode. And his opponent down to the bottom left is the blue Zerg player, who I can assure you represents evil geniuses. It's Stephano. So Stephano, for quite a while, has been kind of semi-retired. He was retired, then came back during the holidays of his university to kind of just wreck the ladder. And as a tweet that he sent a couple of weeks ago mentioned, I'm back for 1 week and I already break the game. Of course, that was referring to his Swarm host play, where in his sick, warped sense of humour of the game, decided to start playing 2-hour-long games of just Swarm host up against Protoss until they really couldn't cope anymore. And yeah, that's caused a lot of rage among Protosses, which is kind of good because you've got Protoss players being like, oh, Swarm hosts are so imbalanced, and then you've got Terran players being like, oh, Protoss, they're so imbalanced. I'm not quite sure if Zerg is sitting there and actually going, ah, Terran, so imbalanced. It'd kind of be good, it'd kind of be beautiful if that happened. Anyway, Refinery coming down, everything looking good. Going to be a a Reaper opening, most likely coming down here from the Terran player. Meanwhile, Stephano, 15 hatch. Is he going to go into a 16 pool or a 16 gas? Those are the two main openings that you'll generally see. Looks like Stephano should be going now for the spawning pool. Yep, he's even rallied up that drone. Of course, you can rally drones independently from the lava, which is a cool little trick that not enough Zerg players utilize, but they definitely think they will. Anyway, Orbit Command coming down. Reaper on its way out. Outzerim is a utterly huge map, and as such, getting a fast unit out like a Reaper to get some good scouting information can be essential. Also, it's got a decent amount of harassment potential, and because the map is so large, quite a few players can be very greedy on it. So, the other thing to worth note is where these two players are spawning. It's allowing Stephano to come in and get an Overlord scout down first, just happen to send that Overlord the right way. It also reveals to the Terran player where Stephano has spawned. And the important thing about these spawn positions is drops are now highly likely to come in to Stephano's natural base. There's a huge amount of dead space, a relatively quick rush distance, and with that, it's quite a likely strategy that a Terran player will try and utilize. The Reaper though, note the first Reaper making its way across. The second Reaper is in production though, and with a factory coming up behind it, this is likely to follow in to a 2 Reaper 4 Hellion aggressive style of play. But if one of these Reapers goes down, that would really reduce how effective that play is. The Reaper's pretty much essential to tank up any damage from Queens. Due to their combat drugs, they can just pull back, heal up, and get back into the fight. It allows for very effective trades on the Terran side. The Terran player as well now, adding in that command center. So, expanding up, adding in a second gas too. This could lead in to us seeing a starport come down relatively quickly. It's a possibility. These double Reapers being very brave, finding a nice little nook just behind that nice little bit of... what is that? Some kind of crystal floaty thing. Means that Zerglings can't get the full wrap around there. The Reapers though, trying to find a nice little way through. Managing to pick off a drone, may even get a second one now, but Stephano makes it into a spore crawler. Not every drone grows up wishing he's going to be a spore crawler. Most, I reckon, dream of being a hatchery. I think that'd be like the ultimate aim. You know you've made it in life when as a larva you become a hatchery, which eventually becomes a hive. Although that's really rare, because I don't mean to like throw the philosophy out here, but has anyone ever seen the first hatchery ever be morphed? How do you know they're not there all the time? Did they even come from a larva? You don't know. So, since they usually become the lairs and then the hives, drones very rarely become hives. Poor drones. Anyway, that damaged drone, again, gonna have to quickly go and become a spore crawler. The reason you do that is because you can cancel it and get the drone back, and it costs you a couple of minerals, but less than losing the drone would, and you still get the drone. So it's always a nice trick to make. Banshee is following up here, so as expected, that second gas giving away the Terran's plot. Otherwise, not really too much to say in terms of what's happening here. Oh, this is actually quite big. Okay, Cloak is now coming down. This means Stephano has to get some kind of detection. Due to the fact that he currently has only got 1 gas, he's not likely to go up into lair particularly quickly. Especially since, well, actually he's got 100 gas now. He could go up into a lair. But either way, detection, Spore Crawlers or Overseers are his 2 options. So needs to be looking for one of those, but he is now able to take down one of those Reapers. And the second one, getting very low on HP. So by taking down that Reaper, the Hellion push is going to be less powerful. But only 1 Hellion currently out. The Banshee, though, are going to be able to get into the natural base, which is currently undefended. That could cause some problems, but in what could be a moment of brilliance from Stephano, just some good game timings around the kind of 7:38 minute mark, throwing down a Spore Crawler at his natural, knowing where his opponent's spawning, expecting perhaps some drop play or Banshee play going to be on the cards, keeping things safe. The downside of this Spore is while the detection range is really good, the actual damaging range isn't, so Banshee can hide up here and start chipping away at drones on the gases, and that could be a little bit problematic and should still result in a few kills. The thing, though, that hasn't been accounted for is the fact that there's 2 Banshee coming through. That's quite a big investment, and already drones are starting to fall. That Banshee, though, taking significant amounts of damage, and he's going to have no choice but to back out. The Hellions, well, 5 of them, just sitting up in the main base for the time being, not really doing too much else. The second Banshee going to go and join his first brethren, but the downside is that, hey, there's a third one coming in. So I say that's a downside. And the reason being is because Stephano is doing an alright job of defending this. He could, though, end up losing this third hatch if he's unable to get a Spore Crawler built there. And with 3 Banshee chipping away, the hatchery will actually fall pretty quickly. But a Spore now getting walked down. Very important that comes in. Tries to get into position. The Queen going to be able to take out one of those Banshees. Nice control there by Stephano, who's still producing Queens. Already up at 4, going to go to 5, meaning that he's got 2 for dedicated creep spread and 1 for each hatch, and therefore injecting. The 1-1 upgrades for Stephano, they're pretty far ahead. He is about 3/4 done with them as we see the 1-1 upgrades only just now starting for the Terran player. But this is a lot of Hellions, and the Banshee, it's a significant amount of damage that could be coming through. There is an Overseer morphing, that gives some mobile detection to Stephano, very important. But he's only got Lings. He doesn't actually have a Baneling Nest down, or any Roaches, to defend against these Hellions, putting a lot of emphasis on the Queens doing a good job. And with the Banshee there as well, that can be quite problematic. Good transfuses coming down though from Stephano at the moment, save him for the time being, but this push looking very potent. A couple more emergency Lings coming through, but so many Hellions still alive. With this many Marines too, while it's not a huge number, they're able to focus down the Queens very effectively. Drones taking a decent amount of fire. The Hellions, though, really starting to dwindle in number after some nice positioning of those Zerglings. The Queen's transfusing again. Good micro coming down from the Evil Genius's Zerg. And this is going to force back this Terran push. It dealt 9 drones worth of damage, but with a 4th base already established, it shouldn't really take too long for Stephano to catch that back up. Not to mention the fact that he's already back to 75 drones, which is more than enough and more than what he needs at this stage of the game, generally speaking. So the Spire, that's nearly done. Banelings now morphing in. That's going to help against any more Marines that may try and make their way forward, any more Hellions that get a little bit too packed up. But over on the Terran side, we've got a huge number of barracks in production. This is going to start really ramping up the production capability of infantry over on the Terran side, and with a good amount of production and good macro, so good use of those production cycles, you get that never-ending Terran push, which Zerg players can really struggle with. And the reason that they do struggle quite significantly with it is if you don't get a critical mass of units and get good Baneling hits when you've got the Banelings, you run out of units very quickly, and this Terran player just seems to just have this never-ending flow. You've got to overwhelmingly beat this push, or any kind of never-ending push's first wave, otherwise you'll just keep on coming. So Stephano, waddling forward now on creep, those Banelings may get some nice connections, 2 detonating on 1 Hellion, but the next one getting a few good shots off. The Mutalisks trying to trade up against these Marines, but they've got 1-1 upgrades now. The Hellions moving forward again into that drone line, but the Queens and Mutalisks should have no problem dealing with the remaining Marines. And as such, while the Hellions have managed to rack up about another 10 kills, it's not disastrous. Stephano still at 64 workers, adding in 5 more, so yeah, with 2 waves of 5 drones, he's made up for that again. But what he's really adding in is a lot more mutas. This is a significant investment in Mutalisks. He's already at 11. He's going to be going up to 17, maybe even higher, and that means that he's got to start doing some damage. The things that Mutalisks have to be a bit careful about are Marines, for a start, and Widow Mines. They can deal some good splash damage. The odd missile turret like this one, not too threatening, up against 17 mutas with +1. They can burst it down pretty damn fast. But if they get hit by some Widow Mines and then cleaned up by the Marines, it may be disastrous. So Stephano, he's got to have some really good control here, and got to make sure that he doesn't lose those Mutalisks unnecessarily. Thors also making their way onto the field. That's going to be very helpful. Thors, splash damage against air. They can be counteracted if you magic box over them, which is where you just keep the Mutalisks nicely spread out. But the downside to that is that Marines are then able to very quickly start picking away at those mutas. Stephano adding in that 5th base, +2 air weapons coming through. Meanwhile, the 2-2 upgrades are just about, or +2 attack, about to finish for the Terran player, as well as +2 infantry armor, about half done. Stephano, he's got his 2-2 upgrades already finished, and is going to have to wait for 3-3 for if and when he gets a hive. Creep spread also going nice. We've got a little drop down towards this 5th base of Stephano. The Mutalisks toying with these Marines, deciding whether they want to engage or not. They are going to be able to do nice bit of damage, pick off the drop and the medevac, and therefore save that 5th. At the same time though, a drop coming down in the natural, that gets cleaned up by the spore crawlers though. Only 2 Marines make it out alive, and they're not really going to make it much of a worthwhile drop. The drone saved with a transfuse. Again, really good control being shown here by Stephano. A big push though, coming over, or coming through the mid of the map. That's heading straight towards that 5th base. Thor is going to be revealed by that Overlord, manages to shoot it as well, but Stephano going for the counter-attack at the moment. Stephano can afford to lose this base. It's not really doing anything, and if the 3rd base of the Terran goes down, losing the 5th isn't a problem in the slightest. So in comes now a huge number of units. Stephano really going for this, but he needs some Banelings up against these Marines. And boy does he have a few of them. They're coming in now, crashing forward. The Mutalisks don't yet have the +2 attack, but they are able to clean up the small number of reinforcing Marines. Banelings crushing through the 3rd base as well. And Stephano has done some good damage. He's got a decent number of static defense here to defend against most of this push, and unfortunately for the Terran player, a lot of his army was out of position there. The 3rd base gets taken down, so does the command center, and suddenly Stephano's economy is looking a mile better than that of the Terran players, especially in that gas income. But Stephano, he's not out of the woods yet. He's got to defend against any subsequent pushes, and getting Baneling detonations like those definitely will help. All the Widow Mines are used. Don't kill everything out just yet. No detection is available, unfortunately, although once the Overseer gets over there, those Widow Mines are not going to last too much longer. So the Widow Mines get taken out, and GG is called. Stephano just wins straight there. By taking out the 3rd base, there's no economy remaining for the Terran player. His main's pretty much mined out. His natural base isn't really looking too much better, and he just isn't going to be able to deal with a 4-base Zerg. So Stephano is able to win that game in very nice fashion. Congratulations to him. And with that, the game is done. If you're watching live, make sure that you follow this Twitch channel. And if you're watching on YouTube from the VODs, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and leave me a cool comment. And I'll be back tomorrow with another new game.